Hi all, welcome back. Lesson 4, part 2. Right then, so because we all know Excel, we're going to start with Excel and the different charts available within Excel. I think at the last count is about 19 different ones. So most you'll have heard of, they've got different uses, but let's cover a few off. This little screen grab here just shows you a few. As I said to you in the last one, pie charts are there, but only if you want just one category. As soon as you're comparing across different categories, you're best to use things like a column chart, bar chart. You've then got variations of that, histogram, but I'll cover that. That's more for ranges of data and so on. As I said to you before, line chart, you'd use that for showing over time. I'm going to go through this little breakdown here. And the little H5P drop down gives you a really good usage and why you would use certain things. Like most of them you've probably heard of. Histogram. Oh, now, when we start creating histograms, try not to use the inbuilt Excel one. It doesn't tend to work very well. It's much better to create a column chart and then remove the gaps. But with a histogram, you tend to have ranges. So you would have a range of, say it was ages or grades. So you may have, if it was grades, you may have one bar for everything under 30, one bar from 31 to 49, one bar from 50 to 61 or whatever. Because these are ranges, there should be no gaps in between. You're not saying that this is a single or what we call discrete value. This is a range of data. So a histogram basically looks like a column chart, but with no gaps in between. But there are all sorts to go through there. Donuts. So donuts are similar setup to pies. You'll see when we start again in Power BI next week, I prefer the donuts to the pies. It's the same idea, but I would be careful about how often we use those. But do please have a read through the difference on here. As I say, the most of them you'll have heard of, but there may be one or two in there you haven't. Things like waterfall charts and so on. Excel has now got a fantastic map chart within it, really good. You have to accept it when you go, but for doing an overall plot, it actually uses Bing and it goes in, and if you've got country names, street names, anything like that, it should pick them up. It's not bulletproof. I was doing one for, I think it was your previous class actually, and I was showing the breakdown by college, and I put Perth, and of course it thought it was Australia. Anyway, so it's not absolutely bulletproof. You use postcodes, things like that, but it's a very effective way. These filled maps, a fairly new one within Excel. It's a great little chart there. So once you've gone through that, let's see if you've picked it up. You've then got a little quiz within there, and it will take you through a little catch-up quiz for that. Okay, excuse me, further on. Now, do you remember, I think it was lesson 2, we were talking about the different data types. So your main ones, numbers, text, Boolean, and date. And that affects the way that data is held, the way that we can manipulate average counters on the data within any particular data set. And the majority, sorry, I'm going to zoom back up here a minute. These ones in here will be representing numerical data. But often we want to show text. This one, company here, information is beautiful. I've got a couple of theirs on this page. It's fantastic. And there's a word cloud link to, and I've got it embedded in here, but we'll get a better view if I go like that. I think that's fantastic. Now, for anybody who's not come across word clouds before, the more often a word appears within the data set, the bigger the size on the finished word clouds. So scarily enough, the biggest used password, this is a data set of all the different used passwords in the world. Biggest used password is still password. Anybody still using that, please don't. But even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's not good. The second biggest used password before we had the restrictions on the number of characters, that used to be God. I think that goes back to when web designers used to call themselves webmasters, and they thought they were really anyway. God was the second one. It's probably, oh, there we go, Gandalf. There we go. Anyway, this can also be filtered, so you can say, show me all the alphanumeric, show me all the food-based ones, the security-based ones, things like that. So we don't have to just stick to our traditional bars, eyes, lines, things like that. That's a really effective way of displaying the biggest used passwords in the world and using text to do so. Now, where are we? There. As I put, apologies for shouting, but I have put in capitals for a reason. These are not pictures. They are visual representations of that data. And really, they should always still be connected back to that data. Even with an Excel, please don't copy paste. We move the chart properly so it's still connected back. Particularly now that we're dealing with stuff that can be instantly visualized, instantly updated, and so on. Again, when we get to Power BI, you'll see we don't actually copy and paste the data within Power BI. We link to that data set. It's really subtle but important difference. When that data updates, which it does on a day-by-day basis, so should your charts. And so it's basically just taking and making sense of all this data into something we can all make sense of. That's the point of it. So again, apologies for shouting, but it is important. Right then, infographics. Okay, I'm sure you've heard of these before. And as it says, most common definition, visual representation of information and data. And actually, that is something to remember. I'll show you this one here. So this one here from Statista, this is a great little blog to go off to as well. Excuse me, little caveat. They have some great data sets and you think, oh, that'll be really good for my project. Unfortunately, most of the best ones come with a premium plan, so don't use those. But anyway, so this one here is a little breakdown of 2022. Remember back to 2022? Year in figures. Liz Truss, 49 days. And then they balanced that off with Boris, Theresa, Gordon, James Callaghan, Douglas Hume, and so on. First Amazon trade union established. Now, this is what I was saying about the balance between images and text. A couple of the more forward-thinking projects that came in previously, they'd done their dashboards, but they were putting little text boxes on the dashboards to sort of get back to what I said about the end user, to basically explain what their dashboard was all about. It's a really good little tip to do. And as it goes on, it's not trying to cram everything that happened in 2022 onto one infographic. It's just taking snapshots, things that they thought were important or different, and they've pulled them out. It's a really nice little put together one. So, infographic. And this one. Now, I couldn't embed this one. I'll show you why in a minute. So I've got the link up there, but quite possibly one of my favorite visualizations ever. It was so well thought through and so simple. So this is Nathan Yao. What he did was he took data from 1,000 different Americans, and admittedly this was done back in 2014, top of my head, and he put it into this visualization here. And he's really thought about it. So he's plotted what these 1,000 different Americans did, and he's thought, right, well, if they're going to go from volunteering to household care to shopping to, chances are they're going to be traveling in between. So he's put the traveling there. I'm going to speed it up a wee bit and you'll get the idea. And then every hour, I think, or maybe every 2 hours, he's got another text box comes up here and says, oh, at this point of day, this is where most people are doing and so on. But I think it's hypnotic. It's a most fantastically well put together visualization. Anyone could make sense of that. And yeah, speed it right up. There we go. Again, back to Power BI. But there's a visual within there that you can add called the play access, and you can make your visuals move around and run over a timescale and so on. this, I just thought that was fantastic. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the other page because I could sit and watch that all day. But I just thought you really, really thought about that. I thought it was really well done. Right then, back to here. Now, as it says, and now for something beautiful. So I've come back to this company. Information is beautiful. Please go through their visualizations. You will get some fantastic ideas. They're always updating things as well. But the simplicity of this is great. Now, rather than using the one I've embedded, let's see, can I? All right, I'll just use the embedded one, it's fine. All right, so what they did there, they wanted to investigate the world's biggest data breaches and hacks. And they've done it really simple. Sorry, dreadful English. So 2022, you can see straight away, judging by the size of the bubble on there, by company, I'll show you another one in a minute, by company, this shows you the size of the data breach. And it looks really simple, but when you hover over, you get more detail. Now, this is what I was saying about you can do this within Power BI as well. You can add things like tooltips on. So you can actually make your dashboards look really quite succinct and to the point. But if your reader wants more information, you can hang that over. We've been doing a little similar thing with our progress trackers and things on the dashboards. So we've got dashboards and we're starting to build in tooltips. So if we've got a student that we want a little bit more information about, there might be some notes, you hover over it and those notes come up. It would make an absolute mess if you had all of them on the page at once. I just think that's really clever. You can filter by whoever, and obviously as you go down the page, you can see that data breach is obviously less and less, even going back to 2004. And then they've taken the same data and done it the other way around. So this time, instead of doing it by company, they've done it by sensitivity. And I've shown you this deliberately. Sometimes we've got an investigation into a particular set of data sets and we have one set of metrics, one set of KPIs come out, but actually reversing it around and looking at it another way is also good too. So this is the same data, but they've done, as I say, one by company and one by data sensitivity. So there we go. Again, you can get more information as you go in, but leaving it alone, it's a little bit simpler to see what you're doing. But honestly, have a little look through the information is beautiful. Like, there's some fantastic things within there. And I'll leave you for just now. In fact, I'll go through this and then I'm going to leave and I'm going to do one little short video, just a little answer a few questions that have already come in on the data science project. But we'll get back to that in a minute. So your SWE this week, and remember, you're just adding to the one SWE. You're going to end up with one great big long SWE. Fairly straightforward, all about data visualizations. Heading, find a quote about visualizations that sums up what you think about them. Not one of mine, I'm sure you can find better than that. Then just run through 5 different Excel charts and name why you would use it. Remember, things like pie charts are all very good, but only single category. If you're using a line chart for comparing over time. But the one I'd like a little bit more thought on was this. A little bit deeper into a particular visualization. Now, whether or not it's one of the ones on the Moodle page or whether or not by going off and following some of those links or find something else altogether, you've got a better one. Let's see if we can prove it. Who made it? What was it made for? What data does it contain? Is it effective? Is there anything you would improve? At this point, your visualizations, you're the user, you're the end user. Is it as effective as it could be? Is there anything missing? Is there anything overloaded? Are the colors wrong? Does it work? That sort of thing. So there's no right or wrong on that one, but what you should think. Because if you can sort of identify where somebody who does this for a living has gone wrong, then when you start adding it into your own dashboards, your own projects and so on, you know. Also, I always encourage with the projects, ask somebody else. Ask somebody who knows nothing whatsoever about data. Say, look, this is what I've done. Does it make sense? Does it make sense to you? I used to do that with web design. You would always test your sites out and so on. And obviously you would ask some people who are web designers, but I would ask my wife, my mum, and they both prefer to tell you they're not that good in IT. If they can find a way around it, anybody can. It's not a bad wee tip. Right, I'll leave you for just now. I'm going to do a short one on just a few Q&As that have come through in the project. Please come back to me with any questions. Speak to you all soon. Thanks, bye.